Hello and welcome back to the Way to Native Chronicles, and today we're going to show you a little bit about how to disassemble and assemble a Ruger #1 rifle. This is something that quite a few people have asked me about. I made a video in the past about it, and it was kind of in the infancy of my video editing skills, and it kind of botched up a little bit, a lot of background music, and it was pretty awful, but there was actually a lot of good information in there, and it was kind of a shame to lose that, and I'd like to put it to better use. This was actually specifically requested by viewers. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go over the whole process of disassembling a Ruger #1, something that you don't see very much, and how to assemble it again. Now, with a Ruger #1, you basically start off by getting that a screw in the forearm and removing that, and then you can remove the forearm. And once that forearm is removed, that's where this video is going to begin. And I'm going to try to walk you through the process. It's actually very simple. The mechanism and design of Ruger #1, just like Bill Ruger himself, was always known for being a man who could make things rugged and simple, and that certainly has been the case with Ruger #1s. They are a beautiful designed rifle with an extremely strong receiver. You just about can't figure out a way to blow a gun like this up. Not that you should try, but really a unique design, and it's just a thing of beauty. So let's get into this video, and I'll begin with the forearm off the gun, and we're going to take this gun apart. One of the most critical things is being able to handle the hammer spring in it, which is actually located in the forearm of the rifle. Well, let's begin. What we see here is the underside of the rifle with the hammer spring exposed. Got to get that out of there. So how do you do that? The way you do that is you bring the lever forward, and that compresses the spring all the way. Once you have that spring compressed, then you can take a small drill bit or a small nail that'll fit through. I think this is a 1/32 inch drill bit. Push that through there, and that keeps the spring from moving. So I close that lever and I pull the trigger. That takes off all the tension. Now, because that drill bit is through the hole, the spring won't release. So make sure you keep that pin or drill bit through there at all times. Don't let that out, because that spring is very strong and you'll never load it up again. So now that we have that done, we're just gonna come in from one side with a screwdriver and the other side as well, and unscrew that little cap nut that's holding the pin that the lever hinges on. So getting that little cap nut off first. Be careful when you're using screwdrivers that you don't slip and scratch the finish of your receiver. So now that I got that cap nut off, I'm going to lift the lever, and I want to just tap that pin out a little bit, not all the way. Just going to tap it out a bit, enough so that I can remove the hammer, so it's not all the way out. The pin is still partially holding the falling block assembly and lever. So a little bit of fiddling, just get that pin out just enough so that it's out of the hole in that hammer. Now I'm going to push the pin back in. Pins back in, close the lever. Now I'm gonna push the pin all the way out with the lever closed. Now that pin is out, the whole assembly comes out, and this is just amazing simplicity, the design of this action here, as you're going to see very shortly. There she is. The whole thing is out. There's nothing much to it, really. So I'd encourage you to take a real close look at it. Maybe refer to this video if necessary. You see that little washer there just kind of falls right out, so you got to kind of watch that. But take a close look at how everything goes together, how it fits. Actually having a video to refer to after the fact is quite handy, because if you're unsure later on, you can take a look at this again. See how this just kind of fits together like that. Comes apart, everything fits nicely. But like really, there's only 4 pieces in the whole thing, right? Really simple. And that's how it fits together onto the falling block. So when you want to put it back together, it's just a matter of putting it together back like that and sliding it back in. The only thing is there's also an ejector assembly with a little spring on it that we're going to look at next. So there's the ejector sitting on the side there. It's got a little spring pushing it out, so it's kind of looking a little cockeyed. It's because it doesn't have the falling block to press it against the side of the receiver now. But take a look at that. You see just a little spring. It's putting pressure against the inside of the receiver. This is for your ejector as well. In the case of this rifle, it's 45-120, by the way. There is no ejector spring. I didn't want that. It's those 45-120 case are too expensive to go flying around. So but you know, anyways, you can see this is pretty simple to put together. It's just a matter, used to be a spring there for the ejector, but you can put that together and then slide this pin through the hole once they're lined up. And once that pin goes through there, it's pretty loose fit, so it's going to fall out and stuff like that, but you can handle that. Now we're going to reassemble the Ruger number 1. So the first thing we want is we put that ejector back in place, but it's going to be wanting to spring out from the receiver, so we're just going to have to pin it against the inside of the receiver as we slide this whole assembly right back inside. So we want to have that kind of pressed against there so we can get it started, but it's kind of fiddly, so maybe just take a screwdriver from this left side here and hold that against the ejector, press it against the receiver wall as you slide this assembly in there, and it should go in fairly easily. You know that it's all the way in, that ejector stays tight against the inside of the receiver, and we can put our pivot pin back in place here. You just got to line up those holes right. The hammer is not back in yet, but I'm just pushing the pin through, making sure everything's lined up. So let's lift that lever and we'll push that pin back out a little, just enough so that the hammer can go in that slot there. And we'll just kind of try to get it lined up with this hole lined up with the pin. And once we have that, we can close the lever. Now it doesn't just close like that. Try pulling the trigger. There you go. So now we've got most of the receivers put together. You just put that cap screw back on, and let's put the hammer spring back in. So we still got that pin in there. Fortunately, it didn't fall out. Don't want to have that happen. Okay, let's just slide that back in there. You can see I just have the lever down when I'm doing that because it's compressed. But now that I lift the lever up, I want to take that little pin out of there, and that will allow the spring to apply its full force again against that internal hammer. So everything's going to be tight once I get that pin out. So that I didn't actually take it out in this video because I had some additional work to do, but basically that's it. So that concludes our video on the disassembly and assembly of Ruger number 1. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I appreciate the support you give this channel, so if you can click like and subscribe to this video and this channel, that would really help things out. Keeps content coming. So from the Weighted Native Chronicles, I wish you God bless. We'll catch you next time.
idiotic 真係啦，佢開開始嘅，已經打字。